Hello guys, today on our series Battleforge versus Nimble versus zombies this time. What we mean is the basic undead. And as you can see, we have the whole Wiedergängers, armored Wiedergängers, the zombies. We have fallen heroes, we have ghost necromancers. Nachzehrers, interestingly, are beast, but also can be undead. We basically covered them in the beast part, so I won't talk about them again. And of course, we have the legendary undeads, the Lost Treasure Hunter, Fallen Betrayer, Rachegeist Ghost. So the Lost Treasure Hunter is in the Sunken Library, and Fallen Betrayer, Rachegeist, and Rachegeist Ghost are in the Watermill. Okay, so overall, let's talk about the lower zombies. The lower zombies, as all the ancient undead, they are immune to all kind of status effects. They don't have fatigue and all that stuff. They don't have resolve, like normal stuff, right? They can have armor and they can have all of the weapons. All of the normal weapons the normal humans can have, because they're kind of zombies. Interestingly, they do additional damage after day 90, and they have high hit points. These are the normal armored Wiedergängers. They have Battleforge, by the way, and Backstabber. So they are relatively hard to kill because of the high hit points, and they will hit you because of the Backstabber perk if you get surrounded, even if you have Underdog. So they are really, really nasty. Because they come, as always, in large numbers, and a lot of additional damage perks, they don't really work versus them. So like stuff like Fearsome does nothing versus them, right? Stuff that would inflict bleeding or poison doesn't do anything. They can't be injured, so Crippling Strikes Executioner doesn't do additional damage or debuffs versus them, right? Okay, but they can inflict the debuffs on you because they have Scrammer's axes, so they have cleavers, they have axes, they can make you bleed, basically. And as you can see, even the armored Wiedergängers, they have even more hit points with Battleforged, and they have armor. A lot of the time the armor is damaged, but sometimes it's full armor. And that means they can tank a lot of hits. And unlike most other opponents in the game, they don't run if they take a lot of hits. They don't break. That makes them really, really scary. Especially in big numbers. Also, if one of your brothers dies, he becomes a zombie too, and he can rise from the dead. That is another thing. They can rise from the dead, the zombies, by themselves in zombie fights. But also, they can get revived from the necromancer. We talk about them very soon. The next thing, fallen heroes are basically heavily armored with a lot of hit points. They have Backstabber, Battleforge, they have Fearsome, Reach Advantage, Shield Expert. That means, Reach Advantage means if they hit you, with the two-handed weapon, they get additional defense. So it makes them harder to kill. The fact that they are Battleforged, and these guys have really heavy gear. So they actually have, I think they are the only opponent, or one of the few opponents. I think at least it's the only common opponent that can have really high armor in combination with Battleforge and high hit points. So these guys are really, really tough to kill. They can tank a lot of hits, even from big two-handed weapons. And that's kind of the point. If you can't kill your opponents fast, at some point they will kill you. As you can see, they do additional damage at a certain point. And again, these guys can come in huge quantities. Fighting 10 of them in a big zombie camp is no problem at all. Next thing, ghosts. In Corporal, this perk got put into the game because whips could just easily attack the ghosts. But now they get additional defense for each tile of range away from a guy. So that basically means they have plus 20 melee defense versus whip attacks. And they already have like 30 defense. So whips, even if your brother has like 100 melee skill, only have a 50-50 chance to kill a ghost actually. They fierce them. They have the ghostly touch that does direct HP damage. It's kind of like the stagger, the puncture attack from the dagger. And the nasty thing about is they have the scream, which will cause resolve check within 3 tiles. I think it's 3 resolve checks that are actually procced on your brother. And this is actually the reason why at some point I tend to avoid undead fights completely until I have a bannerman, because I need to rally my bros specifically because of these geists. If guys start screaming at you, and normally the guys are behind a lot of zombies and fallen heroes, so I can't get to the geist. That means, yeah, they're just really hard to kill, and they start screaming, and my bros might drop a moral or start running. Right? They start fleeing when they get hit with the horrifying scream. Also, by the way, they have 999 range defense, so your archer will always roll on a 5% chance to hit to kill the ghost. So these guys, really tough to kill. If you have to basically get on top of them in order to kill them relatively efficiently. What can help versus them is if you drop a lot of dogs, because dogs can attack twice and they can jump the ghost, and sometimes you get lucky and just kill the geist with dogs. Next one, Necromancer. Okay, this motherfucker has low hit points, low defense, so he's really susceptible to archer fire. Has a decent amount of range defense though. The thing is, you can actually always there is 1 or 2 zombies with shields in front of the necromancer. There's always a bodyguard around the necromancer. That makes them hard to kill. He doesn't attack. He does the nasty thing, which one thing is he can possess, which gives undead more action points, more damage and more defense. Makes them really scary, like especially possessed fallen heroes with big two-handed weapons. They can have the same two-handed weapons that you have. It's actually a very good source of getting a lot of good weapons from the fallen heroes. Especially, I think fallen heroes have 1% chance of becoming a champion. It's like 4% with the bounty hunter or something like that. So they are getting really, really sketchy if they get possessed. So having like a disarm with the cleaver is nice. Stunning them is really effective. Right? So having maces who can just stun the fallen hero who gets possessed is a decent way of mitigating the damage. And of course, the necromancer can raise the undead, which will rise the zombies that you have slain. So this zombie fights are basically DPS checks. If you can kill them fast, that's not a problem. But especially if they are in like 30 or 40s, so like, and there's more than one necromancer, these fights even become sketchy for late game parties. So to the question, is Battleforged better versus them or Nimble? So overall, I would say the Wiedergängers, the zombies basically, armored or not, they basically have all of the light weapons, right? They can have basically the brigand weapons, all of the light one-handed weapons. They have maces, spears, swords, cleavers, axes. So they have a relatively high attack volume with low damage. So specifically versus the zombies, I would say Nimble is weaker versus them, especially when they have cleavers. They can easily inflict bleeding on your Nimble bros. Because of the backstabber perk, if you get surrounded, you will get hit with some hits, and especially if they get possessed. Like sometimes your Nimble bro just gets hit 3 times in a row with a cleaver or one-handed axe, and then he's dead. So Nimble struggles versus the high volume of attacks from the zombies, or can struggle at least. Versus the fallen heroes, it's a little bit more nuanced, because the fallen heroes can also have two-handed weapons, and Nimble tends to be better versus stuff like the two-handed flail, but it's basically worse versus everything else, I would say. It's okay versus the mace. But in general, I would say Battleforged wins here too, because Battleforged does a better job of tanking the cleavers, the great axe, the longsword, or the two No, not the two-handed flail. Only versus the two-handed flail, I would say Nimble is better. Versus the rest of the weapons, Nimble is worse versus Battleforge in this direct matchup. And again, like, zombie fights tend to be really, really long. Fallen heroes have a lot of hit points, a lot of armor. You tend to not kill them fast. They get raised by the necromancers. They can revive themselves sometimes. Sometimes I don't do that usually, but it can be worth to decapitate them and to collect their weapons if they drop. But necromancers can rise even decapitated fallen heroes, so it has its limits for sure. Overall, I would say Nimble specifically is better versus Battleforge is better versus the fallen heroes. The ghosts, they mainly do the scream attack, so the ghastly touch goes straight to HP. So Battleforge would be worse in this matchup, although I'm not 100% sure if that one gets negated by Nimble. But we just assume it gets reduced by Nimble, so in melee ghosts, Nimble would be better versus the melee ghosts. But like most of the time, even in melee, they just start screaming, which is the problematic thing to remember. So versus ghost, probably Battleforge is better. And the other ones, the Lost Treasure Hunters, are basically stronger Wiedergängers, and the Fallen Betrayers and the Rache guys are just stronger fallen heroes. Especially the Rache guys is basically a champion fallen hero that you fight in the Walter Mill. Yeah, overall, everything else together, I would say Battleforge is superior to Nimble because of the high volume of like low damage attacks that can inflict bleeding. And outside of like single things, Battleforge, or of single attacks and weapons, Battleforge tends to be better overall. It's a damage race, so having a lot of two-handed weapons that just kill the zombies fast is nice. Zombies don't have too much melee skill, but again, Backstabber perk means if you are surrounded, you are very likely to get hit. And also, like, zombies raise from the dead and can push you away, so you can get a brother isolated. So having a bannerman always ready to rally is really important, especially versus ghosts. Yeah, as discussed overall, yeah, I would say Nimble is weaker, especially versus the cleaver. And even the normal zombies have the Scrummer's Axes, which do a shit ton of cleaving damage and bleeding to Nimble. Yeah, I would say Battleforge is stronger overall. But there is some, and also like they have low initiative, like the undeads. So like even the benefit that you are nimble and you can go faster than the zombies, even a lot of Battleforge dudes can be faster because of their super low initiative of the zombies. So Battleforge is definitely superior to Nimble, specifically versus the zombies, and actually versus the whole undead faction, I would say. Alright guys, I hope you learned something if you are a newer player. If not, I hope you found it somehow entertaining. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.